While playing The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker, many of us were in awe when we finally saw Hyrule underneath the ocean. A massive plain, Hyrule Castle, a big lake. Striking memories of Ocarina of Time. It was a place many of us wanted to explore, but alas, it was strictly tied to just Hyrule Castle and the small road leading to Ganon's Tower. Legends rose about how this land must have been explorable at one point during development, considering its size. So much so that it even inspired YouTubers like She Says to start a whole YouTube channel on breaking the boundaries to explore it. And in our case, we'll explore not just that, but everything about it, from unused concept arts, in-game lore, and even some leftover in-game remnants. Today on Cut Content, we'll explore the mystery of the Beta Hyrule of The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker. If you enjoy this video, please hit the subscribe button and hit the like button too to further support us and keep creating new videos. So to start things off, let's do the obvious. Let's actually try to explore Hyrule. Using a jump code, let's hover way over the invisible barriers, because of course they don't want you to have even the slightest chance to get into Hyrule proper, raised even higher in the international release at that. And lo and behold, we are now in the actual Hyrule field, running like no tomorrow until the collision runs out. Yes, this land wasn't ever actually intended to be an explorable Hyrule. In fact, if you take the camera around, there are no actual exits or any other points of interest to see. So what's the point of this video? Did I just lie for the last couple of minutes? Well, it's just that this version of Hyrule never was made for exploration, but rather made as a version just to see. However, they were attempting and planning to make a proper Hyrule, which we'll plan to crack today. Now first off, let's explore the biggest part that they were planning for this. Within the concept art page of Hyrule Historia, there is a small section showcasing a warping method that was cut. The warping method showcased Link in what appears to be a field, finding a fish hook. When Link grabs it, he's pulled right up through the ocean and up to the fisherman who reels him in, thinking of Link as nothing more than garbage. Aside from the impressive wire and arm on this fisherman, it's pretty clear that the field was underwater. This, my friends, is Hyrule that Link was standing on. Having the warp points may have meant that these were scattered across the lower world of Hyrule, and if that was the case, it means a fully fleshed out Hyrule would have been planned too. Almost a part 2 to the Great Seas part 1 of the story, which would fit in exactly to the story that is actually already told. Let's consider what happens after you enter Hyrule for the second time. You are told to enter both the Earth Temple and the Wind Temple, both of which are said to be entered through a hole on an island that are said to lead you all the way down to Hyrule at the bottom of the sea. Now consider this. Why is that story beat there at all? This could very well have been said to have been just at the top of a mountain that is peeking out of the Great Sea. But yet there are these instances where you are in Hyrule. This may be a story beat that likely stayed in, where you were once supposed to explore the original Hyrule field and find 2 temples and likely the third one that we previously covered too. Imagine for a moment, you bring Makar, Medley, and Mystery Stage number 3 on a boat to Hyrule, and then set on a path across the field and caves to get there, utilizing their skills and abilities to cross certain sections, whether it be flight or to grow a massive beanstalk to reach. These may very well have been the intention here, on the path to the dungeon. But then we got Hyrule itself. What was it like? How did it look? Well, first off, considering you have the Great Sea right above, with even Death Mountain sticking right through it, the land likely would have lined up with it, meaning this Hyrule would have been just as large. A very ambitious feat, which may be a major reason why they had to cut the idea of building a second overworld here. But of course, it didn't all have to be so explorable, and even big warps between a route from one section could lead to an actual destination. But I'm sure that wasn't something that they would want to do in this open adventure game. But looking further at Hyrule Historia, we do see concept arts that seem to take place on dry land, such as this big Castlevania-like castle with a dragon on top of it in the middle of a large forest, which that in itself already has some problems with the moon being there. But of course, no such large land masses exist on the Great Sea either. So I'll take the moon as more of a dramatic effect by the artists here. But further to that, we have this bokoblin, or whatever this creature is, around the campfire as Link approaches it. The first thing this makes me think of are the groups of bokoblins you see in Breath of the Wild that sit around the campfire too before you begin your slaughter. Considering the surroundings, it looks like this could take place in this very forest here. Potentially as such, you might have met a group of creatures that sat around campfires like this across Lower Hyrule. An idea that could have very well been repurposed for games such as Breath of the Wild, as the Zelda team is known for recycling scrapped ideas. And last amongst the concept pieces is this one, which shows Link in a heavily forested location with giant trees that he's scaling that even featuring entrances to go inside them. Now at first I thought maybe this could have something to do with the Forest Haven, but Hyrule Historia does declare these all as scenes not used in the final game, meaning this likely has to do with a cut location. Being that the size of the trees are pretty ludicrous and plentiful compared to the one big tree on sea, this would more than likely have to be in Lower Hyrule. I guess this may be another to add to the horde of lost woods cut from Zelda games. But as usual, all routes lead to Ganon. One thing I always found strange is how Ganon's tower was so close to Hyrule Castle here. I mean, lore-wise, it's not so strange since Ganon's obsession with these 3 shiny Doritos would want to make him relocate closer to the castle rather than be in the desert. But yet, he is in the desert. This isn't something you can see in the game at all. This is the actual surrounding of Ganon's tower, and it is huge. Now this is where the final battle takes place, but if you take the camera beyond, you see a whole desert that is never seen, not even in cutscenes. The cutscene only shows the mountains and the sky. It's almost as if they were purposely avoiding showing the desert. But why? Now I've had this theory before that the desert was to be shown in a cutscene at one point, but was cut out. But the desert itself makes no sense to exist in the first place. If Hyrule is this close to the castle, there couldn't be a desert of such magnitude here. At most, the tower is at the edge of these mountains, and possibly on top of them like in A Link to the Past. In fact, if we pull the camera away to where you may be able to view it from Hyrule Bridge, this is how far the tower actually would be, and in fact would be completely obscured by the mountains. Now you may be saying that they simply didn't care for scale, and that is always a possibility, but yet, they have always cared for it. Whether it be Ocarina of Time where they put a 2D texture of Death Mountain in the background of the Temple of Time, or the ever-closing moon in Majora's Mask, the team does care for this stuff. And even if that was the case, you enter this cave and come out in Ganon's tower. So what happened to the desert? Did Link walk through this mountain and a whole desert off-screen to get there? That doesn't sound anything like conventional Zelda to skip areas like that. We'd at least get a cutscene of that happening at worst. Considering that the map of Hyrule was never meant to be the map of the explorable Hyrule, my theory goes that this desert is actually a remnant of the old original map of Hyrule. Now don't get me wrong, this map here specifically doesn't have a desert that Link can walk and explore on, as we can see that it doesn't even connect to the ground, let alone have collision. But one thing really stands out here, and it's this entrance through the mountains. Being that this desert is what was to exist around a playable top of the tower you fight Ganon on, an actual walkable version may have existed at one point too, with collision and connected floors, and this very entrance is what Link would have come out of to go through this desert and make it to the tower. Could that entrance happen purely for decoration for this possible cutscene usage? Possibly. But yet this desert still makes no sense on existing with this existing Hyrule that we have in the final game. And considering the massive scale of this desert, this would fit well with my theory earlier of Hyrule the size of the Great Sea. Adding in the possibility of its own set of dungeons, potential survivors who were living in their own villas, and just a plethora of places to explore, a whole second half the story could have explored these very secrets of this underwater Hyrule that could have led to the climatic battle at Ganon's Tower. As mentioned, this was an ambitious idea, especially if what I've theorized utilizing concept art, lore, and remnants may indicate of its scale. With Nintendo only giving the team 2 years of development to meet the holiday deadline of 2002 in Japan due to the GameCube's sluggish sales, many ideas had to be cut, whether it be dungeons, characters, and even this fully fleshed out underwater Hyrule. Whatever it may be, It's been the biggest point of mystery to all of Wind Waker cut content, and still continues to be with its mysteries still abound. And beyond that, a lot more still stay cut to Wind Waker, whether it be its many objects, designs, and many other maps, all of which I plan to cover soon. So hit the subscribe button, for I'll plan to be back for more Zelda and other games cut content soon. Hit the like button and comment below on what was your theory about Wind Waker's Hyrule. So everyone, thank you for watching!